What is going on? What is going on? What is going on, party people? It is your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer, former first-round pick with the Kansas City Royals. And man, I know it's been a few days. It's been a few days since I've been on. I've been playing hooky from y'all, and my bad on this. But listen, man, we're joined today, and I want to show I got to show my Northeast love today, man. We had a little down south flavor last week. We had Midwest University of Iowa coach on. So now I got to take it back to the crib over there, at least close to it. And I had to bring back, we ain't gonna bring back. We had to bring on. All right, so we're gonna bring back Rutgers recruiting coordinator Brendan Monaghan, who's I appreciate you joining us, Brendan. Man, if you could, man, I always have my guests when they come on. I always have them talk about where they're from, playing career, all the way to where you are now as a recruiting coordinator at Rutgers University.
Sure thing. Yeah, D, I appreciate you having me on. Brendan Monaghan, I grew up in Wayne, New Jersey, up in North Jersey here, about 45 minutes or so north of where I'm at right now with Rutgers. Played my college ball at St. John's University in New York. Was there for 4 years. Got a chance to go play some pro ball. Did 3 years with the Baltimore Orioles in their minor league system. Did a year of independent ball with the Long Island Ducks in the Atlantic League. And then when I wrapped up pro ball, I went back to my alma mater and started coaching as the volunteer there for 3 years. We had a good run as a program for 3 years when I was there, and got a chance to move on to UMass Lowell up in New England. Was there for almost 3 years as the pitching coach and the recruiting coordinator. And then from there, bounced down to George Washington University down in Washington, D.C. for 1 year. And then kind of shot back up to New England at Bryant University in Rhode Island. Spent 3 years there with Coach Owens and Kyle Petteruto, the other assistant, before Coach Owens got hired about last July, just over a year ago now, last summer down at Rutgers. And that's where we're at now, back in New Jersey and loving it.
Back in New Jersey, that's right. So, man, Rutgers University, I know you went to St. John's and you played against Rutgers a lot, and we were talking behind the scenes. A lot of people don't really understand Rutgers has a storied history, man. You have some, I know two pro guys. One was my teammate, played a long time in the big leagues. David DeJesus, a Rutgers guy, man. But talk a little bit about the storied history, with Rutgers and the type of players that they bring out.
Yeah, I mean, so Rutgers, probably is most known for its time in the Big East. I guess if you go back a little bit further, they had some Atlantic 10 days, but a lot of success under Coach Fred Hill, who was there for a long time and just recently passed away a couple years ago. But he certainly left his mark on the school and on the program. And, he and the other coaches, when he was on staff, did a really good job of recruiting, a lot of the New Jersey kids. And I know they had a really good connection to Staten Island, a little bit into Pennsylvania, but they were producing pro players, winning championships. I mean, you mentioned David DeJesus. You got a guy like Todd Frazier who's still playing, who still comes back. His brothers one of them played at Rutgers, and they're a baseball family. But no, I mean, there's been tons of pro players that have played and come through. There's been championships that have been won. So, the history is long and deep and rich with success. And we're trying to bring that back.
No doubt about it, man. So, congrats to getting this job. And I mean, honestly, me looking at you, and don't take offense, but you look like you every bit of like 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, man. You still look like, man, you can go out there and swing it a little bit out there, man. So
I tell the guys I can still play.
That's a testament to, working out. Yeah, you look like you look like you still go out there and swing it a little bit, man. So, but with Rutgers, tell me a little bit about, the a little bit more about the coaching staff, new coaching staff coming over. What's the excitement level right now at Rutgers? I know you guys at the Big Ten. I had Iowa on last week, and it just seems like a little resurgence going on with Big Ten baseball. And I remember Rutgers, back in the day being in the Big East, but now being over at the Big Ten. Tell me a little bit about that, man. That conference as a general. I know this is your first year over there. But tell me a little bit more about the excitement going on playing in Big Ten baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us in particular, the baseball conference is really strong. And I think for our coaching staff being our first year and just getting into it now, we feel like we're getting at it at the right time. I mean, we've kind of gone through the transition as a university and as a department for the transition into the Big Ten and kind of being the new guys on the block. And, we're ready to now start, making an impact into the conference. I mean, it's been a 3, 4, 5 bid league in the NCAA tournament the last few years. A team like Michigan goes and plays for a national championship, which is really good for the conference. And there's a lot of excitement with, obviously our coaching staff and the direction that we're going with Coach Owens and Kyle Petteruto, Brandon Cogswell, Pete Barron, and our whole staff. But then, you add in, the success that the basketball teams have had, both men's and women. The women have been great for a long time. The basketball for the men's side just had a banner year, and they're going in the right direction. And, the football program has brought Coach Shiano back from the glory days of back in the Big East where he built that up. So, we feel like there's a lot of positives right now. And like I said, we're all kind of through being the new guys on the block and the welcome mat being laid out for us, and we're ready to kind of put our mark on it, as a baseball program and as a department as a whole and as a university. We're trying to show everyone that, we belong in the Big Ten and we're going to compete at a high level.
There's no doubt about it, man. So I mean, talk how big Rutgers University is, because it's University of Rutgers. Talk how big that campus is, man, because I went there years ago, and I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe now maybe look a little smaller to me but back then when I was in high school, I came down there, it was huge to me, man. So talk about enrollment, how many people are at Rutgers, and because it is considered the State University of New Jersey, right? So,
right.
How big is Rutgers as far as enrollment?
You're looking at about 30,000 kids. But again, you're talking about it's a state school with a state that it might be small, but as everyone knows, it's got a lot of people in it. So it's one of those schools where the foundation is built on, the kids from the state being able to come here. And it is a big campus. We've got 5 separate type of pod campuses, we like to call them. So it kind of spreads things out a little bit, but we also look at it as a way to kind of keep things fresh, where, campus doesn't stale for you. You get to move around. You get to see different parts of campus. You always know where you're at and when you're on campus. The one part of campus called College Ave, which is where the original campus was first formed, gives you a little bit more of the downtown New Brunswick area. So you get a little bit of kind of city type feel, but then, you always have the traditional campus type atmospheres with the dorms and the athletic facilities and those communities. So, it gets spread out a little bit, but again, it's a bigger school. It's a state school. And, I know everyone that goes to Rutgers has a lot of pride in New Jersey. That's for sure.
Yeah, they do. Oh, Lord have mercy. Talk that damn Jersey pride. How far is it from New York City too? Give a little person from Philly to New York, because it's in the middle. It's smack dab in the middle right there.
Sure is. I mean, they like to call it kind of the hub city. So you're about a 45-minute train ride to New York City. You're about, just over an hour and a half of a drive to Philly, a couple hours from Baltimore, Washington, D.C., 3-4 hours from Boston. So we're right in that corridor of the Northeast here, where you can get to these major cities, these major hubs. So you can get that New York City vibe, that Philly vibe. And I think that's another piece that's big for Rutgers, is it pulls the people from North Jersey with those New York City connections. We get the South Jersey people that have that Philly connection. So it kind of pulls everyone together and kind of bands everyone together. You create some nice rivalries on campus with the pro sports teams and everyone's affiliation to those groups too. But yeah, we're right in the hub of it all. And, you can get it all at Rutgers. You can get that Big Ten campus atmosphere, that life. And then you can hop on a train or get on a bus or a car and you can be in the city real quick.
No doubt about that, man. So my boy Russ says, Coach, when are you all going to start playing at Patriot Stadium and hold NCAA regionals there?
there's been some talks about that. I mean, especially now with the Big Ten Conference and that landscape, and the attraction of some of those opponents that we can play. I mean, there's been some talks, at least from our coaching staff to the administration, to maybe try to get a weekend or two there in the regular season, to maybe get like a Friday night Big Ten series, played at that Somerset Stadium there, which is right up the road from us, about 15 minutes or so. And we would love to be able to host a regional there. We'd love to be able to host a regional right on campus. I mean, there's some talks and some works being laid about some upgrades to our facilities to make it capable to host an NCAA regional. So there's some vision going forward, but we hear the people of what they're looking for, and we would love to be able to bring that type of atmosphere, right to New Jersey for everyone.
All right. So tell me a little bit about this pod, man. I know it's your first year. I don't know how many games you guys got in this year before COVID hit you, but tell me a little bit about your roster. Are you heavy Northeast? Are you guys recruiting nationally? Tell me a little bit about your roster.
Yeah, we've got, primarily New Jersey kids. We got a couple Florida guys, a couple New Yorkers. But the landscape and the footprint of our foundation of our recruiting comes from New Jersey. And yeah, we didn't get a great look at the full squad in action this year. We only played about 14 or 15 games before we got shut down, but there's certainly a lot of energy from the players. There was some rejuvenation to things with them. And, we had some struggles and some tough times early on with the travel and dealing with some different issues, but we've got a really good group of guys. We feel really good about the recruiting class that's going to be coming in come this fall, where it's going to add to our depth, it's going to add to our talent. We did, a little bit more of a dynamic type of approach where we got older a little bit quicker. We're bringing in a couple junior college players, a couple grad transfers. So, we still have a lot of Northeast ties where we spread ourselves out of New Jersey just a little bit. But the foundation of our recruiting is always going to come from right in our backyard, right in New Jersey, and starting on the inside and working our way out.
Man, yeah, I love it. Got to give that love to the Jersey dudes over there, man. Keep it in state over there. That's besides maybe Texas is number one. New York, we got our pride too. I love New York, man, but Jersey's up there when it comes to state pride. Gosh, New Jersey dudes, man, you guys, Lord have mercy. Yeah, they'll you hear that all the time about them Jersey dudes. All right, so we got Brian, my boy Brian. What's up, Brian? He said host the Big Ten tournament. We're not going to Minnesota every year. We would love to drive up to Rutgers, and Brian's in Maryland. So yeah.
Tell me about it. Yeah, we don't want to have to go out there either. We'd love to have it right here for everyone as well.
All right. Russ says, when are y'all going to get these lights at the stadium?
That's kind of probably priority number one for us right now, to be honest with you, is putting some lights in. We're trying to get some fundraisers going to get some lights put on our field. Probably our two big initiatives would probably be lights and a stadium. And then we feel like, we pretty much would have what we need right now to at least be able to, to postseason games right at home.
So right now, Patriot Stadium, how far is that from the campus?
It's probably about 15 minutes or so. It's right up, 287 for all the people in New Jersey that are familiar with it. And, it's right off the highway there where you can see it right there. So it's a good spot for us, like I said, to possibly be able to host, a weekend or two there from a Big Ten series standpoint. There's always, the option potentially to maybe play there in a postseason event. So it's something that has certainly been talked about.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would like to think Big Ten school like that, you guys should be having right around the corner over there. I haven't been by I don't think I've ever been by the baseball stadium. I went there for the football, but not baseball. This is way back in the day, though. But Brian says, ask Brandon was his favorite coach in the Orioles system. Maryland guy again. You got to remember.
I would probably say my hitting coach when I was in Delmarva and A-ball, Ryan Miner. I was with him fortunately enough for 2 years, and he's a really good players type of coach. Funny story about him is he was actually the player that took over for Cal Ripken when he sat down and ended his games played streak. He was the first player to kind of take his spot for that game. So he's kind of held that role.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Damon well. Yeah, we played against each other. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good trivia. Yeah. I mean Ryan. I know he had a brother Damon too, but Ryan, I played against both of those dudes, man.
So, yeah, I think they were twins or something.
Yeah, they yeah. Ryan was which one was this lefty? I used to get them mixed up too all the time. One of the big boppers, you know what I'm saying?
They were, yeah. Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah, Oklahoma boy. That's right. Big lefty, big donkeys, man. But Greetings from the Poconos. What's the best advice you can give? All right, let's go. We got a good question coming in. Let's go. All right, Yvette says, greetings from the Poconos. Shout out to the Poconos. My aunt and them used to live up there for a long time. What's the best advice you can give my rising freshman utility player?
I would say keep playing, keep experiencing those different positions, especially at a younger age. The more you can play and the different spots you can play, the more experience you get and seeing the field and kind of getting that experience of being all over the place. It helps that athleticism. I think at a young age, you definitely do not need to lock into one spot as long as you've got the ability to go play multiple positions. I think number one, it keeps you on the field more. It gives you that valuable experience of being able to see the field from different spots. But ultimately, I think it increases that athleticism and, eventually, the game will get funneled into a spot that I think you'll probably be the strongest. But as a freshman, keep playing different spots, keep playing all the time, keep having fun with it, keep learning the game.
All right. Good question. We have Mr. Porcher says, we're looking forward to seeing a lot of Big Ten games as soon as our grandsons are playing in the Big Ten starting this year. So Mr. Porcher is a long time. His grandson is going to Penn State. So you guys are going to be battling against each other. So, yeah, it's crazy. It still baffles me, man, the whole Rutgers and all that being in the Big Ten. It's still a little, different for me. You know what I'm saying? Just I don't know.
I know what you're saying.
I know the whole Maryland.
People are kind of set on their ways a little bit. They remember, again, like the Big East days and all of those connections. The good thing that the Big Ten is doing, and this was done, before all this COVID stuff went in, they're starting to create some more regional type of rivalries within the conference. So at least I know from a baseball standpoint, like we're going to play Penn State and Maryland every single year, and we'll alternate home and away series, where in the past, they might miss, playing a Penn State or Rutgers in baseball. And it really shouldn't be that way because it's the closest opponents. So they're doing that starting in the 21 season, where we'll play Penn State and Maryland every single season, which will be good. It'll establish, those proximal rivalries, and it'll be good for us from a travel standpoint too.
Yeah, speaking of travel, I mean, LeBron hinted on that, man. You guys got to go way out to Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota. Man, that's some heavy traveling, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's tough. It can be tough at times. You're talking at least 3 to 4 flights per season for the road trips for the Big Ten. Not to mention kind of getting out of the area in the beginning of the season. So it becomes a little bit tougher. We're flying a lot. We're in and out of Newark Airport, pretty regularly. But we start to figure it out. And, as a Northeast team, we kind of take a lot of pride in going on the road and playing at other people's parks. And, we have a lot of pride in trying to win a lot of road games as well.
Yeah, I already know that. That's. You get to see the big part of the country out there, the Midwest. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So, Russ says, do you all recruit travel ball or high school ball players?
We do both. We do both very heavily. There's pros and cons, I guess, to both. We've done a really important thing as a new coaching staff, trying to connect with a lot of the high school coaches in the state to try to introduce ourselves and try to find out about their better players. But there's also there is a place for the travel and the recruiting circuit of the travel ball. Because a lot of times you can see a better collection or a larger collection, I should say, of better players at one stop. But there's something to be said about going to watch a high school game, and especially at the end of the spring with some playoffs where you can see some intensity and a lot that's on the line for kids. There's no substitute for the passion and the intensity of high school athletics and high school baseball. And we actually have what's called the Last Dance tournament going on right now in New Jersey, where it's a loose affiliation, I guess you could say, with some of the high school programs. But we're seeing walk-off home runs, comebacks, kids flying all over the field, having a lot of fun because they did a 3-game pool play, and now it's win or go home. And they got the season taken away from them for a while, and they were able to bring it back. And now it's playoff baseball every single time for them. So it's a lot of fun. So, we certainly recruit both, and both are really important in our eyes.
Man, I love it. No doubt about it. So you're not too far removed from seeing who you playing, who was your coach in Delmarva. That makes me feel extremely old. But the you ain't too far. Playing, you being a coach and now going through the system, the travel ball system. Because when I played, it wasn't huge like it is now. But travel ball wise, recruiting wise, went to St. John's. And now you find obviously going pro. Do you find yourself now on the, other side, being able to relate to those players, the growing? Because sometimes I think it's a lot of ball being played. It's good, but on the flip side, sometimes you think injuries and stuff like that, especially you being a pitching guy. Do you feel like with the travel ball industry the way it is right now, do you see it needs to change? Do you see it benefiting, certain players, certain areas in the country? What's your whole take on the travel ball industry? I know you came from it.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say when I was leaving high school, it was getting a little bit more popular. I still didn't do it myself because I did football and baseball in high school, and my high school program for both was high intensity. So I didn't really do a lot of the travel baseball, but it was starting to really pick up and gain steam when I was in high school. And obviously now it's kind of the way of the world. And I think it's probably come from, the basketball and the hockey type of lifestyle, I think, is where it's really, kind of modeled itself from. But yeah, I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, like I mentioned, we recruit both. We recruit the high school, we recruit travel ball, both very heavily. We still love to recruit the athlete that plays multiple sports. There's something to be said about those kids that are standing at the foul line with the game on the line in hoops, or playing football or playing soccer, and then transitioning and the commitment and the dedication that it takes to do all that. There are some kids that benefit from playing baseball all year round. There's no doubt about it. I mean, their skill set can get advanced a lot quicker. And maybe those kids find themselves, in a different situation from a recruiting standpoint because of that. So there's certainly a balance with it, and we need to kind of take a balance with it as a coaching staff as well. I mean, when we're comparing a couple kids, it almost comes down to, what are we looking for right now? Do we need that kid that's ready for us to come on campus and play right away? And maybe we find that in the ball player that's playing all year round, or are we looking for a kid that's really athletic? He's got the tools. He just hasn't played a lot of baseball, but we know that once he comes to college and gets into our system and is playing baseball all year round, man, his ceiling's really high, and he's going to get a lot better with our philosophy and what we do. So, we certainly, don't hold it against kids that go play other sports, because we know that, there's some fibers in there that you can't take out from the competitor. But there's also, obviously those baseball all year round kids where you're going to get a little bit more of a present skill set that you can see, and it's more tangible, that you can take and put right into your program.
I love it, man. Two sports. I love it. Jansen, what's up, baby? All right. The Yvette says, what are some of the differences between your fall and spring practices, and how do academics play into that?
Yeah, I mean, when we sit down as a staff and we're modeling and planning out our fall calendar and then what it's going to look like in the spring, it always starts with the academics. The academic schedule and their courses always take the priority. And then we try to model our practice and our game schedules around, how they can be successful in the classroom. It never works the other way, and we never try to do it the other way. One of the things that we do, and I think we do it really well, is we model our fall, practice schedule exactly how it's going to lay out for our guys come springtime. So we're going to school in the morning, and then we're practicing in the afternoon. We're getting our weight training in after practice. And then the nighttime is designed for them to have study hall, night class, possibly have some freedom to be a regular kid, have some open time to do some work on their own. So that when springtime rolls around, we're doing the exact same thing. They're going to class in the morning and we're playing our games in the afternoon. And fortunately, for us as a spring sport, especially with our incoming guys, our freshman group, it gives them, 3 to 4 months of getting acclimated to what that system looks like in their cycle of each day and each week and how it blends together. So come springtime when we're playing and we're traveling and we have weekend series, they know, okay, come Monday, I'm back at school. I'm away from baseball for the day, and then my week starts to pick up come Tuesday with classes and practice or more games. So we always try to line up our fall to mirror our spring to give our guys, the best opportunity to be successful in the classroom and then on the.
I love it, man. So let me ask you this, man, because you to be the perfect one that, me talking to these college coaches, I've seen, and I kind of understand the scheduling aspect of it. And it seems like a college schedule is tougher. I mean, I don't want to say about the travel, but like on a day-to-day, it seems like a college baseball player, like work schedule is tougher than a pro guy. I mean, with managing academics and time commitments and everything where you need to be, tell me a little bit about that. Like as far as, because you being, a player, now a coach and played in the pros, what's scheduling wise, you know what I'm saying? Which is tougher? Because I've just based on the coaches I spoke to, I was like, man, college scheduling is crazy, man. You guys do a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. We ask a lot of the players. They're demanded a lot. But obviously there's a big reward. And I think, from a pro ball standpoint, that's why you're starting to see a lot more kids go to college and then leave college and get to pro ball and be more successful, because there's no demand like college and college athletics when you mix that together. I mean, it's hard enough when you're just a regular kid who's just going to school, transitioning from high school to college and maintaining your work ethic and being successful in the classroom. And then you're adding a full-time job of being a college athletic student athlete. It's some serious work. It's serious commitment and dedication. Obviously the reward and the perks that come from it are great, and there's no denying that. But, we have tremendous support from our academic services, tutors and study hall. There's a lot of checks and balances that are in place for the kids to be successful, to take advantage of that. And, some of those, to be honest, are probably not available just to the regular student, or at least not as visible and easily accessible. But there's also more demands as a student athlete, that's for sure. So, we pride ourselves on making sure the kids are doing what they need to do and being successful in the classroom. And, as coaches, for us, we can hold the carrot in front of them and take it away, of baseball if they're not doing what they need to do in the classroom. We never go the other way where, we try to get around class schedules and miss class for practice. It doesn't work that way. If they're struggling, we can always take the baseball away from them, get them the help that they need so they can be successful. But it really comes down to the time management and taking care of, your responsibilities. But like I said, I think for the guys that are really good at both, that can transition from college baseball to pro ball, when you don't have that responsibility anymore because, you've graduated or you're on track to graduate, but you're playing pro ball, that's your job. As you know, I mean, pro ball is your job. That's your life. And you just have to commit yourself to that. But we've done a really good job as a coaching staff, previous stops of guys being successful in the classroom and then developing guys to go play pro ball as well.
All right, Coach, you're having a little audio. It's on my end. Man. So I'll try to, thundering out here. So Russ says, as a pitching coach, how do we get kids to focus on throwing strikes and work on technique than throwing to the gun? Perfect Game has radar guns at 13U tournaments, and kids are overthrowing, and form is bad, and they don't care about strikes or wins. It's just how hard they are throwing.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad direction that I guess we're leading down these days, especially at that age. It kind of goes back to what you asked about the recruiting, I think. I mean, we would love for kids to just go out there and play, not worry about the radar gun or the coaches that are in the stands. I mean, especially at 13U, you shouldn't be worried about the radar gun or the recruitment. You should be having fun with your buddies and playing ball and trying to have fun and win and compete at a high level. And to be honest, with the recruiting, with where it's at right now, with it being a dead period and us not being able to be there in person any longer for this summer, as tough as it is to not be there, we find it refreshing as well, where these kids can just be playing, even at 17, 18, they can just be out there playing with their buddies and playing the game the right way. It's tough because it's kind of the disease that the sport has become, is the radar gun and the recruitment. But, it's tough for me to say that it's not important because it's part of my job. But, at that age, the focus should be on playing the game, having fun with your friends, competing at a high level, and trying to win some games.
All right, Russ says, do you have walk-ons or do you have a JV team?
We don't have a JV team, but we do have a walk-on tryout in September every year. So that's one of the first things that we do in the beginning of the school years. We hold a walk-on tryout to see if there's any kids that are on campus that are good ball players that want to show us what their skill set is and see if there's a match and a fit for our program. And we tend to try to keep a guy or two depending on how many kids come out and what our roster looks like, because you never know who's available and who's out there on campus that can play. So it's something that we do every year.
I mean, so you being a Northeast guy, from an evaluation standpoint, I know you Big Ten and you're playing tough competition, but I've seen it personally, guys throwing 85, 86, 87 in the Northeast, the weather and everything like that, but then they get down in the South or get traveling and get some real training in. Those guys are popping 93, 94 once they kind of get that training in. Is that something that, you being a Northeast guy, being a pro guy yourself, when you're looking at a guy, you see his arm action, you see, how the life on his ball, but the velo may not be all the way up there. But do you see this kid and be like, man, right training, get him in around the right system and everything like that, this kid, his miles high will go up tremendously?
Yeah, I think, if we all had those answers as to what we're looking at and what a kid's going to become in 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, we'd be doing something else other than just coaching baseball. But yeah, I mean, as Northeast guys that, we understand the climate, we understand, maybe the pace of the development of a kid might be a little bit slower or further behind than maybe some of those kids in the South. Yeah, we've kind of made a life of trying to figure out what kids are going to become. But ultimately, I also think, it's a belief in what we do as coaches when they're here. It's not to say that we can take every kid and turn them into, an all-conference pitcher or position player and off to pro ball. There's certain traits and attributes that you need to have that we need to believe in. But I also think at the end of the day, we truly believe in our system and what we do as coaches and how we develop players. but yeah, I mean, there are those bundles of kids that, man, they sit right in that middle pocket of some guys from a talent standpoint, and there's a lot of things to wish on. There's a body there that you can dream on. There's some arm action. There's some athleticism, where you can say, man, we get this kid 2 years down the road from now, and he does what we do every single day. He's got a chance to be pretty good. And, then you mix him in with some of those kids that you see it right away, and it's there. And I think that's what separates a lot of, good programs from elite programs is the depth that's in their roster. And that obviously comes from recruiting, and it also comes from player development.
Love it. My boy Russ says, D, let coach know that you did a personal training video using 3 Piscataway kids, and they are waiting for your call. So yeah, I had last January 2019. Yeah, I went up to Jersey up there, and I worked with 3 kids. Man, they all can play. So I feel you in the background, but they're right in your backyard right there. So they're sophomores now. Yeah, sophomores now, I think. Yeah. So
well, we got to take care of the
Piscataway
kids. That's for sure. They're
right there, man. Yeah, they're right there. So yeah, they're right there. Be right there knocking on your door in 5 minutes, man. So what specific attributes do you look for in kids? Jeremiah in Wisconsin asks.
Yeah, I mean, part of the recruiting process for us is always not just the evaluation on the field. I mean, we try to do as much background check on kids as we can, talking to the high school coaches, talking to their travel coaches. We try to find out, what the family's like, what the pulse of the family is like in terms of the relationship with the kid, what the kid values, what he's looking for. But no, I mean, first and foremost, I would say for us is we like to find kids that are good communicators. And I know that can be tough at times with kids at different ages, but the kids that communicate better, we usually develop better relationships with them. As the recruiting gets earlier and earlier, we have to go through different channels to get in touch with some kids rather than just being able to pick up the phone and call them ourselves. And the kids that prioritize communication and know how to communicate well are usually the kids that we develop good relationships with. So being a good communicator obviously is really important for us. Being a good student is important to us. If we're in between kids that's a good student or a poor student, we're going to go with the kid that's a good student, because we just know that there's going to be less issues off the field academically that as baseball coaches, we just don't want to have to worry about. So if we can have kids that are going to get it done in the classroom, that are going to do what they need to do off the field and be responsible for who they are, well, then we're going to go with those kids. And, we can always find the baseball players that match those attributes. But, being a good student, being a good communicator, off the field are 2 of the things that we really look for. And we never really pigeonhole guys, from a baseball standpoint, from a talent standpoint. I mean, everyone wants the 6'3" shortstop that runs a 6'6" and hits from the left side. But, those are few and far between. So again, we look for the kids that are really athletic. We look for the kids that, maybe can play multiple positions. We look for guys that we feel that have a level of development left in their tool set. And we never say, okay, this kid has to be this, or this to play in our program at these positions.
So what do you mean by communicator? I might have missed it. When you mean off the field or on the field communicator?
Both, really. I mean, if you're a catcher, I was a catcher in my day. If you don't communicate as a catcher, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for you. We look for those kids that know. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's just breaking up a little bit.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, D?
Okay. Yeah. Hey, you good. Yeah. All right. So yeah, you were saying, I'll just talk about the communication aspect of it because, man, I see so many kids, playing. Especially my middle infielders, center fielders. They're the most quietest dudes ever. I'm like, yo, you got to be loud and communicate and they don't know how to, it's like they in their own world. And I'm like, yo, you got to communicate with your people in here. So that's why I asked that question.
Right. No, I mean, for us, it would be on and off the field. Like you said, I mean, if you're playing shortstop, if you're playing catcher, I mean, I was a catcher when I played. If you don't communicate, you're going to be a little bit behind in terms of, where you're at on the field. So yeah, we want those kids that can communicate, especially when you're playing up the middle and you've got some important roles on the baseball field. But it also works, off the field during the recruiting standpoint. And we spend a lot of time on the phone with kids, and I don't want to sit there and be the one that's always driving the conversation and asking questions and getting just one-word responses. I mean, in all honesty, that bores us as recruiters. We don't want to talk with those kids. We want the kids that we can have a conversation with. And again, we understand that we're the adults that are talking to high school kids, and there's some uncomfortability and awkwardness at times, but building the relationship's really important, and that's what we want to see is just the kids that communicate and are open and willing to build a relationship with us.
Now that's a big nugget, parents that are listening in right there. Because man, nobody like quiet kids. You want to be respectful, but these recruiters want to see your personality. They want to see if you come off like, yo, I'm, in a respectful way. Hey, I do this all the time. Hey, coach, whatever. And that goes a long way. Am I right or wrong, coach?
You're 100% right. 100% right. And, the parents are obviously extremely important in the process, and we want them involved in it. But we also want the kids to be able to speak and communicate for themselves and talk for themselves as well. We always have the parents involved and make sure that they're up to speed with where everything is at in the recruiting process. But, for us, it's also making sure that the kid is able to communicate for himself. Because ultimately what ends up happening is they show up on campus when they're ready to be here in the fall of their freshman year, and they're going to hand their kids off to us. And, we want to make sure that they trust us, obviously, and that we're going to take care of their kids. But during the process, we want to make sure that the kids can speak for themselves and can handle a conversation and also relay that back to the parents when it's necessary. Because that doesn't happen sometimes you have a talk with a kid and he just doesn't tell the parents, and all of a sudden the parents are left out of the loop. So it's communication with us and the kid and the parents, ourselves and the parents. That's what makes the process go well, is when there's an open line of communication with everyone involved.
Man, I love it, man. So I want to piggyback off of that, right? So you see a 15-year-old kid, all right, and he's, he catches your eye at this particular tournament, okay? Let's just say summertime travel ball, right? So go through the steps because, I know it, but I think for the parents listening in, just step by step, how it goes about, all right, I like this kid. Where do you go from there after you see this kid right now, on the field? Give me a little step by step.
Sure. I mean, the first thing that we would do is we're going right to the coach. We're finding out as much as we can about the kid from the coach. Because again, those guys are with them, just about every day. And then, we'll communicate with the coach, find out what type of kid he is, what the family is like. Does the kid work hard? How is he in school? What are his grades like? We try to find out, who his high school coach is, especially for us in New Jersey here. Again, I mean, it's a lot easier from our standpoint, from the recruiting to pick up a phone and find out a kid's high school coach or his travel coaching and start to connect some dots with some background. So we do some background communication once we like a kid on the field, and then we try to get in touch with him. Again, because one of the most important things for us in the recruiting process is building a relationship. We want to get on the phone with the kid. We want to get on the phone with the family, introduce ourselves, let them know who we are, that we've seen them, and that we're going to continue to follow him. And then we try to stay in touch. We try to get video from the kids. So we get emails and texts all the time about kids and video, so that we can continuously monitor kind of where their game's at, what their skill set is. What's changed, to be honest with you, is probably because of things happening so much earlier, is not being able to get kids on campus for visits as easy, just because of the rules. And you got to be going into your junior year in September to be able to be on campus. So there's so many things that have changed from that standpoint. So we've had to get a little creative with, some presentations that we can get into families' hands so that they can get a look at campus, try to set things up for them, so that they can be on campus themselves when we can't meet with them. Something like this, or a FaceTime call, is something that's really important, where you can start to put a name and a face together rather than just a phone call. So we've had to get creative as the times have changed and the technology changes, which, sometimes makes things easier, just so you can try to put a personal touch on things where you're not just a guy on a phone having a conversation.
Nah, good stuff, Coach. I appreciate you doing that. Yeah. So the speaking of the time changing with the COVID, and tell me a little about your upcoming recruiting class, and how long down the line do you see this affecting? Because I'm sure you, just like every other school, that some guys are coming back, for their senior years, and you got incoming freshmen, and is your roster kind of stacked as it is right now, like many other schools? How are you guys dealing with the recruiting when it comes to COVID?
Yeah, it's changed things a little bit. Obviously, the NCAA gave us a little relief for this year from a roster size standpoint, which allows us to manage and bring back the seniors who lost their year. So we feel pretty good about where we're at this year, where we're not a program that's going to be bringing in players and have a roster size of 45 kids by any means. But we're fortunate enough to be able to bring a bunch of our seniors back to play. And yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a domino effect going forward, mainly because, we started recruiting, 1, 2, 3 years out, trying to get kids to come in anticipation of kids graduating and being gone and being selected in the major league draft as well. So there is going to be a small little logjam at times, I would say. But that's also because a lot of the kids are getting that year back, which is always a good thing. So we would always rather be able to figure that piece out of, okay, these guys are getting a year back, where are they going to be at, rather than, being short on players and short on talent. But it certainly created a little bit of a logjam, and that's something that, the NCAA is trying to work through to figure out what the best way to give relief to the kids and to the program. But obviously, first and foremost, for the kids, because you want them to be able to have that opportunity. But there's certain things that, we can't control as coaches when something like this happens. We just try to figure out what the best way is to kind of navigate, what issues may come or what we can do to assist everyone to make it the best possible situation.
Nice. All right. So let's get back to academically and price when it comes to school. So, how much is it to come to Rutgers in and out of state? And also, what are some of the academic requirements that are needed?
Yeah, so for an in-state kid with everything included, you're looking about $30,000. That includes, tuition fees and their room and board. And then out of state, it's about 45 or so. So it's still, fairly affordable given, this day and age where the price tag of some of these places is getting to. And, our last school that we were at was well over $60,000 as a private school. So, we feel like, from a state school standpoint, it's a little pricey, but it's still, something that gives a lot of people the option to come. And, that's always a good thing. And then from an academic standpoint, it's highly competitive. I mean, you're talking again with a school that has 30,000 kids in it. You're talking about, almost 8,000 kids per year that are enrolling at Rutgers in that freshman class. 7,000 to 8,000 kids. So it's competitive. And there's standards that are in place for everyone. And there's a level where, we need to get our guys to. I mean, our business school in particular is highly competitive, but what they allow kids to do is to come to Rutgers for a year or two and do your job academically and and get yourself into the business school if you didn't get in, right out of high school, just because of how competitive it is. So, I mean, we're looking for kids that, are 3.0 and above for sure. And kids that are, north of 1,100 at least is usually a good starting point for us academically. A lot of the kids can be better than that. But it's a highly competitive school, and, there's a balance here between the athletics and the academics.
Nice. All right. D-Rob says, do you guys use recruiting websites? And he says, and do you recruit JC players?
Yeah, I mean, there's some recruiting sites out there that we use. The Perfect Game, the Prep Baseball Report are two of the bigger ones that we use. And then, a lot of the times kids are just using, YouTube and their phones right now to create videos and send it to us. And sometimes those are the best things for us to kind of get a gauge on their skill set. But those resources that I mentioned, those are good to kind of scour the internet a little bit and try to find some talent that may be a little more underexposed. But it's not the end all be all for us, for sure. I mean, we look at that stuff as a means to help us, but it's not the foundation of our recruiting. Again, we use it by, relationships and recommendations from people that we know and trust, and kids reaching out with interest. But we've started to get into the junior college right now. It's something where, we don't make it a foundation of our recruiting, because I think it's tough to predict, but it's something that really helps us kind of bring in some immediate talent that's older, more mature, can help us fill some gaps and maybe replace some guys that are taken in the pro draft that maybe we weren't anticipating, and they can help come in and play right away.
All right. Love it. Love it. Russ says, what can be done to keep New Jersey kids home to play? Why isn't Rutgers dominant in all sports, given Rutgers is the only major state school in New Jersey's population and the kids playing so many sports? How do you keep other coaches out of the state?
Man, I'd love to build some walls and charge some people for coming in here to watch the kids from New Jersey, because I think what's starting to happen, and it's been happening for a long time. I mean, this isn't something new, is people recognize how much talent is here. When you're talking about New Jersey alone, but you talk about New York, New Jersey, this Northeast area, what people are starting to find is that there's talent in every sport. There's a lot of kids, there's a lot of talent. And people recognize that, and they're coming in here, and that's probably, the main reason why, to the question why Rutgers hasn't been dominant in all the sports, is because some people are coming in and they're grabbing talent. And from a baseball standpoint, it comes down a little bit, I think, to the climate. You get one of those southern schools that comes up to New Jersey and can kind of, promote their climate, I guess you could say. Kids get attracted to that, especially with our season and the weather in which we play. But, for us, there's plenty of talent to go around, but it's competitive. And it's tough to do, but obviously from a recruiting standpoint, recruiting's tough no matter where you're at. But I think, there's a lot of competition, regionally right here. And then, we start to compete with some programs, at least on the East Coast nationally standpoint, how tough it can become to recruit. But obviously when you're talking about, the combination of academics and athletics, we've got a really good thing at Rutgers that, I think people are starting to recognize, exactly what you're getting in that combination, and that you don't have to leave the state. And that's really the foundation of what our recruiting has been since we got here, is we want kids that want to be at Rutgers, but we don't want kids that look at it as a fallback option. We want the kids that have a lot of pride, like we talked about, pride in New Jersey, pride in the Northeast, want to band together, want to be in it together. And if we can get some tough kids, 35 guys like that, we'll do all right.
Yeah, I like it. I love that confidence, man. And listen, let me ask you this. So, speaking of Jersey, let me just one comment, then I'm gonna ask the question. It's funny Russ says that, because I was just listening, literally this morning, I was listening to First Take, and they had Rick Ross, Kendrick Perkins, and Max Kellerman. Max is a New York guy, but he, Ross was repping Florida, and Kirk Perkins is from Texas. They were talking about the amount of athletes that come out, and Max was like, "Yo, Jersey's up there too." And we just said that this morning. He was like, and he said per capita, he said you'd be surprised how many guys are playing professional sports out of New Jersey. You know what I'm saying, per capita, which just to kind of piggyback what you're saying. That really, I know how good, especially when it comes to football. And of course, baseball players too, but I'm gonna be biased because I'm a New York guy. But football, you guys definitely have the title when it comes to overall talent and the competition. I know you're a football guy, and I think Wayne High School is a big time program, if I'm not mistaken. And so I know how the type of athletes that come out of Jersey. Different mentality. You could tell. I mean, you could tell the New York guy, but you could tell the Jersey, New York Jersey type guy. And I as a kid, I'm with the Pirates organization right now. It's a right-handed pitcher. Now that I think he's a New York guy, but he went to Rutgers, if I'm not mistaken. I met him briefly, and it's funny how we're evaluators, right? So I'm looking at the kid off the mound, and he's just pumping, just throwing. And he had this swag about him. You know what I'm saying? Walking around. So I went to the pitching guy. I was like, "Who's this dude, man? Who is this?" And he told me the kid name. I can't remember off the top of that. I don't even think the kid even got drafted. And I walked up. He was 90. They say he jumped from extended spring training all the way up to AA in 1 year. So you being a pro guy, and you probably know the kid. I can't think of his name, but man, it's a pitcher. I think he went to Rutgers. I met him this spring training with the Pirates. But anyway, I go off. It just talks about the mentality. He's a New York guy, but he's Jersey. He had that mentality. So, but anyway,
there's some edge there.
My stories, but
there's some edge, man.
Huh?
There's edge there. People have it, and people recognize it, and they want that in their program. They know that. Again, there's some kids that are untapped with their potential. They've got that toughness, like you talked about, and you can kind of be the straw that stirs the drink. And that's why I think people are coming up here and trying to pluck some kids out of here because they know what they're going to get. But you're right. You get that swagger, that toughness, and you can mix that into your organization.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So listen, Coach, you're coming up on this hour, man. And I know I'll usually ask coaches about camps or anything like that, but I'm sure because of the virus, do you have anything lined up in the fall or anything? What's going on? Camps, anything?
We always do. It's a big time for us, especially again for those those kids that are playing ball all year round. There's just so much uncertainty right now that I can't speak as to what it's going to look like or what we're going to be able to do. We're trying to figure some things out the best way we can to get some kids exposed to our campus and our coaching staff, and also find some more talent that's out there. But there'll definitely be some stuff put out on our Twitter page and on our website when and if we can get some stuff going.
All right. And how can, if I'm a parent, and how can I Twitter, anything, emails, anything like that, how can Coach Monaghan be reached? Anything,
message me on Twitter, tag me on Twitter in a video, send me an email. The technology these days, all that stuff is on our athletics page. It's listed right there for our communication. I mean, they have our email listed, they have our Twitter handle listed. So I'm open to it all. There's no avenue that's closed for us to find some talent. And again, the biggest thing for us is people that reach out. That's our number one criteria, is that shows their interest level. We want guys that want to be here. So if there's kids that are out there that want to come to Rutgers and play, let us know. We try to recruit, again, locally as much as we can, but we're at the national events when we're allowed to be there. And, we come across a lot of talent, but anytime that we can get kids to come to a camp or come to our campus, that shows a lot of interest. So, reach out to me, let me know what you got, and I'll be looking.
All right. Russ says He can plug his kid. Do you use local kids for Bad Boys to get local kids involved in the program?
Yeah, we'd love to get that going. Again, we didn't really get a chance this year to kind of get our home schedule really off the ground and running. I think we only played about 2 or 3 games, but we love to connect with the local kids, the little leagues in the area. Again, that pride and that swagger and that toughness starts at that little league age. And there's been a lot of talent into those like little league World Series groups that have come from Jersey. So, we'd always love to have those kids out to our games and want to be around our guys. We always welcome that, and our players are open to it. Our guys are really good when it comes to that type of stuff with community service. So, if there's kids that are interested in that, they should reach out to myself or our director of operations, and we can get that going for sure. It'd be a good pipeline.
All right. The last question, my boy Russ, a Jersey guy, he's cleaning up. What do you think about the Big North Conference with the private schools taking all the talent out of the public schools and basically running sports factories? Do you think that will expand to other states? Do you think that is good?
I think it's good for those private schools. I think there's a reason why they get pretty good. Obviously, it kind of dilutes the talent a little bit in the public school. But I know that some of the sports, I think, at least from a football standpoint, they've kind of segregated the private schools from the public schools to keep the competitive balance there. And I know it becomes a little bit tougher from a baseball standpoint when those public schools are going up against those private ones. But I also know myself being a public school kid, when you go up against those private schools, you get a little extra motivation to beat those guys, and when they do, there's some pretty good energy coming out of those dugouts. So I think it kind of helps maybe the talent pool of the public schools. It certainly spreads them a little thin at times for some of them, which is unfortunate. But I also know that those kids that are in those public schools, when they can compete against those private school guys, they get jazzed up for it.
I know that's right. Yeah, man. So this is what I do, Coach. We come closing on this hour, and we definitely Duke Baxter says awesome job. Shout out to Duke, running a great program over there in your neck of the woods over there.
Yep.
All right. I usually have a my guest close us on out with a great message for the parents that's listening in and that will continue to listen to the replay in the future. So if you could, man, I appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on. But if you could wrap this up with a great message, man, I appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, I would just say, to the parents, obviously, first and foremost, support your kid. I think at least from a baseball standpoint, I can say in particular, this game's hard, man. It's, as you know, this is not an easy game to play. And everyone can get really hypocritical, and everyone just wants to see, the Sports Center plays all the time and the highlight reel, but this is a tough game to play. And, the kids are playing it. I think it's probably at an all-time high, and, we do lose some kids to some of those other sports, and it's, I think, because of how tough it is. But support those kids, man, give them the support they need. It's tough. But on the flip side, for the kids, if they're listening too, they need to appreciate what their parents are doing for them, with whether it's high school ball, they're watching them, supporting them all the time, or the travel ball circuit, which gets really expensive and really time consuming. I mean, these parents give up their weekends and their summers to travel around with the kids so that they can play ball. And we certainly recognize the commitment. But, it goes hand in hand from both sides, I would say. And, also for both of them, for both groups, the parents and the kids, don't play for us. Don't play for us as the college coaches and try to play for the recruitment. Play because you love the game. Play because you want to be doing it. You're out there with your buddies. The rest of it will take care of itself when you train, you work hard, and you put yourself in the best position possible, and you're a good teammate. The worst thing you can do is try to play for the recruitment and play for the next level, because this game will pass you by and it'll be gone, and you're going to sit there and say, man, I wish I had some more fun with my buddies instead of just trying to get the scholarship. So I think everyone can kind of sit back and reflect on that a little bit and maybe take some perspective on where you're at.
Hey, that's real talk right there. I love it. I love exactly what you just said, man. Yeah, so I don't know if you know Duke Baxter from Zone Baseball.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Duke does a great job.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah, he's on right now. So I wanted to so Coach, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. So again, I'm signed up for this masterclass. Parents, you hear more information. Just piggybacking off of what the coach has said and what the hours of coaches interviews that have been on this show. So this is what the masterclass is about. Also, tomorrow we are having University of Georgia head baseball coach Scott Strickland coming on. We're going back down south to the SEC over here. So we got Georgia head coach coming on tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. So we're gonna keep this knowledge going. We're going Big Ten / Northeast. You know what I'm saying? And now we're gonna head down to the dirty down here, to Georgia down here, and talk to Georgia's head coach Scott Strickland tomorrow at 4 p.m. So, Coach, man, I thank you so much. Register for the 6-week masterclass. Check out that link, man. I appreciate your time, brother. It's good to hear that it's always good to get that people from the crib, man. Wayne, New Jersey over there. I know you guys have a powerhouse football team over there. And yeah, man. So I appreciate you doing your thing. And how do we get fun back into the game? All right, last question. All right, Russ. Damn, this last question. All right, here we go. This is for you, because you're going to close us out. He said, how do we get fun back into the game with parents paying so much? There's so much pressure on the kids. That's your question to take us on out.
Yeah, D, I think what you're doing here is a great thing for everyone involved. I appreciate you having me on here. I guess to answer the question, I would say, who's putting the pressure on the kids? Is it the parents or is it the kids themselves? So again, kind of, let them be the kids that they are, let them have some fun, have everyone keep their eyes on the field. Don't be looking around the perimeter of the field and seeing who's there at the games and who's checking who out. Enjoy the game that's being played on the field and the opportunity for the kids to play, the parents to watch them. Because again, it goes fast. And just like we found this spring, you never know, it could get taken away from you. And we all miss the game a lot right now, and hopefully it's coming back soon for everyone. And but just have some fun with what's going on the field instead of what's going on on the internet or behind the backstop and in the stands. Just enjoy that stuff that's pure, that's right on the field there.
All right, Russ, you heard it. Last question. I appreciate it. Hey, Coach, man, I appreciate it, man. You got a fan in me, man. I will be in contact, definitely. Good luck to you, and I guess next year will be your second year, but your first full season over there at Rutgers, man. And I wish the best for you guys over there. Go Scarlet Knights. I hope Graciano do his thing and bring back those Ray Rice days over there and the football teams over there. And man, Rutgers is a great university, man. It's a big, nice, great university. So I'm definitely thank you so much for coming on, Coach.
D, thanks for having me, and come down to Piscataway. Come check us out. Come watch a game. You're always welcome.
All right, let's go. I'll make that happen, man. Going back to Northeast. All right, 4 p.m. tomorrow. Parents, love you guys. Thank you for coming in. All right, sign up for that 6-week masterclass. Get great information, just like the coach just gave you. All right, peace and love. See you guys 4 p.m. tomorrow with Georgia head coach Scott Strickland. Peace. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, Coach.